This is CBN Newswatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm George Thomas. We begin with the latest in the coronavirus pandemic. The United States now makes up a quarter of the nearly 12 million confirmed COVID-19 cases worldwide, hitting a new record with more than 65,000 new infections in just the past 24 hours. Cases in Florida, Arizona, and South Carolina are growing faster than anywhere else in the world. Health officials saying 91% of the ICUs in Arizona are full. The state seeing a 165% increase in cases in the last week, while testing for the virus has only increased 75%. In Florida, nearly 10,000 cases there on Wednesday alone. 41 hospitals have 0 available beds.
We are playing musical chairs in the middle of the night, moving one patient from one side to another. In coronavirus, 1 minute you're looking great, and the next minute you are gone.
Dr. Anthony Fauci also says authorities in some of those hotspot states should consider possibly shutting things down again, like bars and restaurants, to avoid another surge and to prevent spreading to bordering states. A new report out in the New York Times claiming Sunday worship services are, quote, a major source of COVID-19 cases. It found 40 churches connected to around 650 cases of the coronavirus. But where does that number stand in comparison? Joining us to talk about this and how churches are handling COVID-19 is Dr. Ed Stetzer. He's the Billy Graham Chair of Church, Mission and Evangelism at Wheaton College. Dr. Stetzer, as always, great to have you back on the broadcast. So, sir, what do you think of this article in the New York Times? Is there error in their claims?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the claim was 650. I think the challenge is to use the term that that's a major cause or a major spread of COVID-19. When we have 3 million cases, they talked about 40 churches, 650 cases since the beginning of the pandemic. Let me say, I'm one who's been super cautious about churches regathering. I've done resources and written on the subject widely. I'm not in a rush. My church isn't meeting. But to say churches are a major spread when 650 cases out of 3 million, that's kind of not the language that I'd use in the headline.
Yeah. During this pandemic, as you know, there's been a lot of outcry from Christian leaders about social distancing restrictions, discriminating against churches, as many governors didn't allow services to take place but kept other essential businesses open. Is this NYT article just another example of bias or targeting of churches?
Well, when I wrote in an article and I responded to it in Christianity Today is that this was a headline in search of a story. The story actually tells that a third of the cases related to churches were from one church in Oregon that didn't follow protocols. And what I would say is, I mean, there's good quotes, there's good information in the story. The framing of it is the problem. The churches have been significant partners working with governments, local, county, and state health departments, and are not culprits here. They're partners here. And I found the framing of the article unhelpful. Is it a result of bias? I don't know. You know, editors pick headlines rather than the reporters. What I would say is it framed the story in a way that was unhelpful and I think untrue. Here's another way you could frame it. Only 650 cases traced to churches among 3 million people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 in the United States. Churches are doing well. They're being cautious. Pastors love their people just like health departments do, and they're making wise choices by and large.
Yeah, real quickly, last few seconds, what would your advice be to churches who are open and those who are attending?
Yeah, I would say follow social distancing protocols, follow cleaning protocols. There's lots of resources online now how to do that. Make wise choices as you regather.
Yeah, okay, terrific. Thank you so much. As always, Dr. Stetzer, thank you for coming on the show. On its final day of rulings for the season, the Supreme Court decided on 2 separate but similar cases involving President Trump's financial records. The court's 7-2 ruling kept a hold on President Trump's financial records that Congress has been seeking for more than a year, with justices criticizing the lower court for not adequately taking into account the separation of powers, ultimately sending it back to them for further review. The decision came after the court upheld a Manhattan prosecutor's demand for Trump's tax returns as part of a criminal investigation that includes hush money payments to women who claim they had affairs with the president. Another 7-2 outcome, the court rejecting arguments by Trump's lawyers and Justice Department that the president is immune from investigation while he holds office, or that prosecutor must show a greater need than normal to obtain those records. The president now has a chance to, quote, raise further arguments as appropriate in lower courts. Trump tweeted this afternoon calling the cases, quote, political prosecution, and saying it's unfair that he has to keep fighting in, quote, politically corrupt New York. And 2 wins for religious freedom in yesterday's Supreme Court rulings. The first ruling in favor of the Little Sisters of the Poor, confirming the nuns will not be forced to pay for birth control. And in the second ruling, justices decided that the government has no business telling a religious school or ministry who to hire. Heather Sells has more on that.
2 California teachers sued their Catholic school employers for not renewing their contracts, alleging discrimination based on disability and age. 7 justices backed the schools, citing what's known as the ministerial exception. It is from a 2012 decision that says the Constitution prevents ministers from suing their churches for employment discrimination. This time, the justices applied that principle to teachers as well.
Essentially, they're saying the government has no business telling a Christian school, a church, a ministry whom you hire to teach and promulgate your faith. And so this is a strong victory for ministries and churches and schools everywhere.
The court explained when a school with a religious mission entrusts a teacher with the responsibility of educating and forming students in the faith, judicial intervention into disputes between the school and the teacher threatens the school's independence in a way that the First Amendment does not allow. Dissenting Justice Sonia Sotomayor argued the teachers taught primarily secular subjects, lacked substantial religious titles and training, and were not even required to be Catholic. Southern Baptist leader Russell Moore said this newly expanded ministerial exception sets a precedent for the lower courts.
We really do have a coherent philosophy articulated here that's rooted in the First Amendment, in the Constitution, in legislation such as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So I think the constitutional policy here is very clear.
But questions remain because of an earlier case this session in which the court redefined sex discrimination to include sexual orientation and gender identity.
The court just went ahead and redefined sex, and that is going to create a secular sexual orthodoxy that religious institutions and religious individuals will probably have to litigate in the courts for many years to come.
The 2 wins for religious freedom could also boost the president's standing.
He can tout the fact that these were strong majority decisions, which means that he is in the mainstream of American thought, not just from a public standpoint, but even at the Supreme Court when it comes to these very important religious liberty issues.
But it's only July, and the big question is what issues will be top of mind for voters come November. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thank you, Heather. In the wake of nationwide protests spurred by the death of George Floyd, Attorney General William Barr says he believes Black Americans are treated differently by police than any other folk. He made his remarks in an interview with ABC News. Take a listen.
I do think that it is a widespread phenomenon that African American males particularly are treated with extra suspicion and maybe not given the benefit of the doubt.
The Attorney General said the issue needs to be addressed, but he opposes defunding the police. For more political coverage, tune into Faith Nation this evening. As always, you can watch it right here on the CBN News channel. Coming up, severe weather is breaking out across the country. We'll look at the latest and what to expect over the next couple of days. But before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNnews.com.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Welcome back, folks. You're watching the CBN News Channel. A powerful tornado ripped through Minnesota Wednesday, just the start of the severe weather that is expected across the country over the next few days. Weather officials say the tornado ripped across 3 farms, damaging buildings and sending 2 people to the hospital. The National Weather Service said it was believed to be at least in the EF3 category, with winds of 136 to 165 miles per hour. Meanwhile, a storm brewing in the Atlantic is threatening heavy winds and rain along the mid-Atlantic coast later today and overnight. Meteorologists say the system could become a tropical depression and possibly strengthen into a tropical storm. It is expected to drift north up the coast with gusty winds, downpours, and possible flooding from North Carolina all the way to New York City. Joining us now is Chief Meteorologist from weatherbell.com, Joe Bastardi. Joe, great to have you back on the broadcast, sir. So what can we expect from this storm in the Atlantic? Will it become the next named storm of the season? Joe, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is your cue, brother. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Yes, it should. It should. Now, let me put this in perspective.
Sure.
If this develops into Tropical Storm Faye, it will be the quickest we've ever gotten to 6 storms. On the other hand, those 6 storms are the weakest on record. So you're seeing a situation where they're naming storms like Dolly and Edouard. You probably never heard of them. They lasted for 12 hours. They named them out in the middle of nowhere. And in years gone by, this would have never happened. Now, I'm not against naming these storms, these weak storms, especially when they're coming in very close to the coast. And as a matter of fact, this is another one that's right in the Weather Bell high impact area that we put out in April, right along the coast. But the fact is that it is distorting the overall history of the pattern. And what I get antsy with is when people say, oh, my gosh, this is a sign of this and that. What's a sign storms are getting weaker, that they can't even develop into hurricanes? But believe me, there's going to be a hurricane season this year, and it's going to have some big implications. My meteorology professor at Penn State used to always say the real hurricane season starts August 15th. And I think you're going to see those African waves really rev up and causes problems later.
And let's talk to that very point about the hurricane season. It is underway, as you mentioned. Are there predictions for when and where the first hurricane will hit?
Well, we have a high probabilities of this. We do more than just pick out how many storms there are going to be, which, by the way, we have to add. Every year we add 5 more than what we think because we know these things are going to get named the way they are. But we think the area between Hatteras and Brownsville, I'm especially worried about. In addition, Brenda, Tropical Storm Brenda in 1960 came up the East Coast and paved the way a couple months later for Donna. And we saw this happen with Henri, for instance, in '85, and Gloria came. So with the North Atlantic very warm and the waters above normal around New England and off New Jersey now, I'm concerned all the way up into New England this year. It's been a long time since that area has been hit, but the hurricane hits were legendary back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s in the northeast part of the United States, and there's always concern that's going to return.
Yeah, clearly I was not born back then during the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Real quickly, on the other side of the U.S., extreme heat is expected in Arizona and across the West. What do those weather patterns tell us, Joe?
Well, this is, again, this was sort of easy to see coming. I'm not, for those of you who follow us on Weather Bell from spring, we said it's going to turn into a very hot summer this year because of the overall pattern. Has a lot of resemblance, for instance, to 2005, which was a big hurricane season. And this heat is going to expand right into the Midwest and Great Lakes. I mean, those are the areas maybe cracking records. Now, one of the things in the western part of the United States is because we've cleaned the air up so much, there's more incoming radiation, and there's a dry climate, can get very, very warm out there and even hotter than normal. But over the past several years, the reason for the warmth has been more nighttime lows than daytime highs. We can't compare to the 1930s. I know neither of us were born when the daytime highs were getting to what real feels are now. So basically, we're expecting this pattern to lock in the rest of the summer and on into the fall.
Okay, terrific, Joe. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Always great to have you on the show. Well, folks, you're welcome. Still ahead, why are racial tensions in our country, how it could actually worsen before this fall's presidential election? We'll hear about that and the presidential ambitions of music superstar Kanye West right after this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back to the broadcast. The tearing down of statues, little children getting gunned down in our major cities, the National Guard called out to protect lives and property. Why is this violence and tension happening now? And could race relations turn worse before the November elections? On this week's episode of Global Lane, Gary Lane posed those questions and much more to Turning Point's Rob Smith. He also discussed Joe Biden and the Democrats and the president's ambitions and aspirations of rapper billionaire Kanye West. Take a listen.
I think it's the current political narrative that makes it seem like race relations have grown worse. It is very obvious that we're not living in the same world in terms of race relations that we did during the civil rights era. To even make that comparison is absolutely ridiculous. Now, what we do have is we have a lot of people that have a lot of vested interest in inflaming the racial tensions in this country because they think it helps them politically. Obviously, I'm talking about the left. I'm talking about Democrats. It is no mistake that we are seeing all of this strife in the streets. It is no mistake that now Black Lives Matter is on the tip of everybody's tongue during election year. Democrats think that this sort of racial division helps them. They think that calling Trump a racist, they think that, encouraging Blacks to engage in this victimhood narrative, they think that it helps them because they are saddlebagged with a weak, unexciting candidate and Joe Biden that nobody cares about. Nobody's really excited to go out and vote for him. So they have to gin people up and they have to inflame racial tensions in order to keep that 90% African-American Democrat voter base locked down. I think that's what we're seeing right now.
How threatened do you think the DNC feels about Trump's ability this November to surpass the 8% black voter support that he received in 2016?
Even outside of the Democrats being threatened by Trump and his ability to perhaps get a much larger percentage of the black vote in November, you have a lot of African Americans, even on the left, that are questioning what Democrats have actually done for black people. Why do these people think that they are so entitled to our vote? So that conversation is even happening on the left. You have entertainers. Diddy said something like the black vote is not for sale. You obviously Kanye West, who's just announced, I don't know how real this is, but that he's running for president. And he specifically says that I am tired of being made to feel like I have to be a Democrat just because I'm African American. So all of this strife that you're seeing in the streets right now, all of these racial hate crime hoaxes, all of this stuff is all about the left being an absolute fear that they may lose their stranglehold on the African American community with this administration and in this election. And it is sad to me that they will gin up such divisiveness because it benefits them politically.
You know, USA Today reports that young black voters are not that happy with Joe Biden. They may bolt, but does that mean they would go for Kanye West if he is serious about running for president?
I don't think that will happen at all, honestly. Number one, Kanye West can't even really get in the ballot in most states. So that's not really a real conversation. What is real is that younger black millennials are getting fed up with Democrats. And they look at Joe Biden, they look at this person who has been sitting in Washington for 40 years. They look at somebody who was one of the architects of the 1994 crime bill, which, jump-started this era of mass incarceration of particularly young African-American men. So they look at this candidate and they say, man, is this the best the Democrat Party has to offer? How is this person going to change anything when he's already been in office for 40 years? And like I said, I don't know if that means that these younger black voters are going to go to Kanye West or Trump or anybody else. But I think that there is an opening here for people that are on the right to target some of these voters and to really talk to them about real issues.
So what do you think is going to happen in the fall? Are we going to see more violence, more media sensationalism of racism and so forth, or is it going to calm down a bit?
I think we're definitely going to see more media sensationalism of racism. There's going to be more hate crime hoaxes. There's going to be more stuff in the street. This is being influenced by a lot of the left right now and a lot of the Democrats because, like I said, they think that this helps them. They think that if they can keep black people in this never-ending permanent state of fear or disarray, it will help them get votes in November. So I don't know that any of this is going to change before November, unfortunately. We have to start coming together as Americans. And we as Americans, we need to start taking a really hard look at how the media sensationalizes and how the media attempts to divide, because the media is very complicit in all this stuff as well. It's not just the Democrat Party.
Yes, one race, the human race, one country, the United States of America. Rob Smith of Turning Point USA, your new book, Always a Soldier, comes out July 21st. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thanks so much for having me.
You can hear more about important issues in the news on the Global Lane, as always, tonight at 9:30 Eastern, right here on the CBN News Channel. After the break, Christian music star Lauren Daigle is opening up about what she is calling the most personal song on her latest record.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Christian music artist Lauren Daigle says her song Rescue is the most personal song on her latest album. Daigle opened up on the Kelly Clarkson Show, saying the song was initially written for a loved one, but ended up meaning much more than that for fans this year.
I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where you write a song, but it's almost like the song writes you before you write it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like you, especially for times right now, like especially with what's going on, it's like that song couldn't have been more real and more potent for such a time as this.
She ended up performing the song in a separate segment on Clarkson's show. Rescue is the second single from Daigle's Grammy-winning album, Look Up Child. She wrote it to comfort a close friend in their time of need. The chorus's lyrics read, quote, "I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. I will rescue you." Folks, that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our stories and our programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online at cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. From all of us here from the headquarters of the Christian Broadcasting Network, we wish you a fantastic day. Goodbye, stay safe, and God bless.